Hey, excuse me, quick question, guys. My name is James. I'm an independent journalist. Do you think there's anybody, like an organizer in here, that would be willing to speak with me?
Tension spilling over at UCLA as protesters clash on campus.
Breaking news, there are pro-Palestinian protests across the United States spreading violent clashes today between police and students at USC and UT Austin.
Across the country this weekend, hundreds arrested or detained for protesting on campuses.
Back up! Enough is enough. The violence has to stop. We're here for a ceasefire.
I think what's happening right now is making everyone feel extremely unsafe. We really do fear for our lives.
What's happening on America's college campuses is horrific. Anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities. They call for the annihilation of Israel. They attack Jewish students. They attack Jewish faculty.
This is not who we are as Americans. This is not an expression of the First Amendment. This is not an exchange of ideas. This is threats and intimidation of violence against Jewish students.
Have a backbone. Arrest them.
Universities are full of anti-Semitic, America-hating, pro-terrorist students. Acclaim this incendiary? I needed to see it for myself, so I headed over to the Gaza Solidarity Encampment at UCLA to ask the students why they hate the Jews so much.
Why are you here today?
So I'm here today because of the ongoing genocide that's happening in Gaza. Over 34,000 people have been killed by Israel, funded and armed by the US. And UCLA is directly complicit in this. In fact, our endowment is actually invested in corporations that are actively profiting off of the genocide in Gaza. And so I'm here joined by a bunch of my fellow community members to demand that UCLA divests from organizations that are profiting off of war.
Yeah, and who is allowed in and out of this? Because I saw some video here of a guy trying to get in. I'm sure you've seen it. And he was saying it's because he's Jewish. What's the rule for being able to go in there?
Yeah, so that's not true. It definitely was not because he's Jewish that he was not let in here if he wasn't let in here. Anybody who supports our cause and wants to express solidarity is welcome. Like, we actually want people to come and join us because there's safety in numbers, and that helps us send our message to UCLA. The people who are not welcome in are people who are here for the expressive purpose of distracting from our cause, which is divesting from the genocide. A lot of people come here just because they want attention and they want to challenge us and agitate us. And so obviously, like, that's not welcome. The media loves to see counter protesters, and it gives them a story. And we're here because we want to raise awareness about the ongoing genocide and demand that UCLA divests from corporations that are profiting off of the genocide. So when it comes to the agitators and the counter protesters, we are doing our best to just not engage and try and ignore them.
So it turns out the media reports may have been compromised. For the student organizers who I talked to don't seem to have any problems with Jews or Judaism, but are rather speaking out against the conduct of the Israeli government. And indeed, student protest movements throughout history have had this nasty little tendency of forcing real substantive change. In the 1980s, US student protests ignited a powerful movement against apartheid in South Africa. Students across the nations organized sit-ins and constructed symbolic shanty towns on university grounds, pushing institutions to withdraw investments from companies operating in South Africa. The collective efforts of these students, as part of a wider international movement, played a critical role in the economic and diplomatic isolation that pressured South Africa toward reform, culminating in the release of Nelson Mandela in 1990, along with the eventual dismantling of apartheid with the advent of multiracial elections in 1994.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
If the goal is divestment, right? So then overall, why do you think, because it seems like you're just exercising First Amendment rights, why do you think the crackdowns have been like really hard and fast?
So I think it's because university administrations, which are, especially at private universities, which are ultimately run like corporations, they're seeing that the students are this movement is challenging the status quo. And the police are there to protect the status quo. And so, free speech, it's becoming very clear in America that free speech is only protected when it's in alignment with the status quo. This is an anti-fascist protest. The police, at the end of the day, the interests of the police and the interests of fascists are one and the same.
We need NYPD back on this campus or bring in the National Guard.
One cannot ignore the observation that calls for a militant response against anti-Israel student protesters, coupled with actual police crackdowns on these protests, have been both swifter and much more severe than those against marches where protesters were openly chanting anti-Semitic slogans, for example, as witnessed in Charlottesville in 2017. It almost seems as if concerns about anti-Semitism take a backseat when faced with what is perhaps the true threat, anti-Zionism.
As Jews celebrated Passover yesterday, anti-Israel protests reached a fever pitch.
Tonight, a Jewish leader at the university is now urging students to stay away over what's being described as extreme anti-Semitism on campus. New York Mayor Eric Adams condemning videos such as this, which he says shows a young woman with a sign pointing to Jewish students stating Al-Qassam's next targets.
But as with many mass protest movements, I just want to remind folks that there is a long history on either side to send in agent provocateurs to muddy the water. In this now famous photo, which has been used by the mainstream media as proof that student protesters are not only anti-Semitic, but pro-terrorism, there are reports that suggest that the person in the photo itself is not actually a student, but an unknown figure who appeared and disappeared without trace. On the other hand, are Zionist counter-protesters that unhinged to release a backpack full of mice near the Gaza Solidarity encampment at UCLA? Or has this footage been manufactured to generate sympathy towards the students? We may never know. What has been well documented, though, is the highly organized and orchestrated collusion between various high-profile, well-funded pro-Israel lobby organizations operating within the United States, with these groups having the ability to control Congress, influence the media, and infiltrate grassroots movements.
The think tank group, it makes a difference. It really, really does. It's the best bang for your bucks, and the networking is phenomenal. So they strategically pick the ones who are in the close reaches that they want to build relationships with. So we want the Jewish community to go face to face in a small environment, 50, 30, 40 people, and say this is what's important to us. We wanted to make sure if we give you money that you're going to enforce the Iran deal. That way, when they need something from him or her, like the Iran deal, they can quickly mobilize and say, look, we'll give you 30 grand. They actually impact it.
The goal is to actually make things happen. And to figure out what are the means of communication to do that. When we develop relationships, it's all about to get them to trust us. You can get a lot more done by making questions get asked by journalists. And if you create it from multiple directions at the same time through multiple journalists, then you create a kind of sense of crisis. Basically, the message is the following BDS is essentially kind of a hate group targeting Israel. They're anti-peace.
Right now, the challenge is that there are people who say, you know what, anti-Israel politics have nothing to do with anti-Semitism. You have to show that they're racist hate groups. And that they are using intimidation to get funded and to consistently portray them that way.
There's basically just like Noah Pollock coming and being like, look, there are these jihadis who basically support suicide bombing and they're at a campus and you have to stop them. You know what my worst nightmare is? I'm actually not kidding. It's a photo of Dion and I together. And we're just like clearly identifiable. And they're like, oh, who are these like traitors who sold out to the Jewish conspiracy for money? I'm like, we did. We cost $50,000 plus benefits.
The way you're putting it kind of sounds a bit like astroturfing.
No. This is astroturf. No, this is actually, there's a bus.
What does that mean?
It's when you set up fake.
It's the difference between grassroots and astroturf.
We have our people.
What do you think of this?
Agree? Resistance? Child suicide bombers?
No babies in strollers. That'll bring peace. Yeah, Palestinian terrorists all over Israel. That would be it.
Real baby killers, these terrorists. They kill women They kill children. They don't care about anything.
Rape women too, all the time.
Yeah, let's head back to headquarters for debriefing and cocktails.
Is there anything that they say that you agree with or not at all? For example, like they're calling for specifically a divestment.
No, I agree with that. I'll go on social media. Not one of these protests has mentioned releasing the hostages. And the ceasefire that is on the table is in Hamas's hands. They don't want to release the hostages. I've been there. I've seen what they did. I've met family members. I've met hostage survivors. I've met survivors of the Nahal Oz. I've been to Hostage Square. I've seen where those beautiful young children celebrating at the music festival were slaughtered like animals. Silence before screams.
I've heard about that. I've heard about that documentary.
Okay,
it just came out.
Educate themselves. They want to give back 1967 land. I'm pretty sure if that was the policy, we'd be in Mexico right now. You know, America should have to give back everything they've won in a war. No other country in the history does it. They're ignorant. They're uneducated. They've never been to Israel. And half of them would be fucking killed by their own family members in Gaza.
Well, let's say you're 100% right.
I am 100% right.
Let's say that's true, but they still have the right to say whatever they want in there, right?
They don't have the right. I'm pretty sure that there's a resolution that it is now hate speech to say from the river to the sea.
They do have the right because it's a First Amendment right. It's a First Amendment right. I think for the First Amendment, the barricade, I think it's for safety. I think this is a school setup.
So, but I have the right.
I think this is the school setup here. You should.
Okay, let's see how that goes. Let's see if I make it in from one end and out.
I think if you're nice, I think they would let you in. I think if you're going to go in there and, accost them and yell at them, they probably won't let you in there. But if you're saying, hey, I want to have an open conversation, yeah.
If they're all so proud, why the masks?
I think it's because of the facial recognition. Have you heard about that?
But if you're so proud of what you believe in, like that Columbia student that didn't turn out so well, it's disgusting, and it's appalling that these universities have allowed it to turn into what it is, and that my student doesn't feel. So here's a little story. My son takes his testing at the Disabled Students Center, and a few weeks ago during his midterm, the protesters were on their loudspeakers, which it's been said they're not allowed to be. He was given earplugs during his econ midterm and told, here, deal with it. And I'm pretty sure disabled students are federally protected. I could be wrong.
Well, I think they're doing the best they can in terms of the administration.
No, they're not. But the new chancellor's a Zionist. Bye, Carol Christ.
Can I just ask you what you're doing out here?
I'm just peacefully protesting. I'm supporting Israel and their right to have a country of their own. I'm tired of watching this on TV. And again, we all have a right, I guess, to free speech. But when it crosses into hate speech and calling for the destruction of people's right to, exist.
Have you heard anything here personally that has crossed over?
Yeah, there's actually a sign. I just took a picture of it from the river to the sea. That means they want Israel out. The Palestinians think that Israel is occupying their land.
But I just talked to one of those guys. Oh no, I just talked to one of those guys, and it didn't seem like they want the destruction of Israel.
Well, what do you think the river to the sea means? That is a known saying by one of their leaders many years ago. I was reading about it today, and it's.
But that's also in the.
They don't accept that Israel's in. They feel like they're occupiers, not just Gaza, all of Israel.
But that's also an Israeli saying, though. The river to the sea. They also want the river to the sea.
I don't know about that.
From Yair Netanyahu. This is Netanyahu's son. He's saying from the river to the sea. This flag is all you'll see. So this seems genocidal the other direction.
Well, I don't know if they ever used it though like that.
I mean, they're doing it right now.
Well, but you may be right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So like.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just my religious beliefs.
Sure. And is there any way for people here, like in the U.S., to criticize Israel without being anti-Semitic? Is that possible?
Yeah. I mean,
so it is
people.
Possible.
Everybody, has a right to exist. So again, from what I've seen over the last couple of days and just whatever years, the Palestinians need a land. Yeah, they need a land too. But saying that Israel doesn't have a right to exist in attacking and killing people at a music festival and then kidnapping 250 more, there's still over 100 hostages in Gaza. And then, so it's like, that's not the way to get your own, land.
Well, these guys are asking specifically for divestment of their endowment of UCLA for
you know what? The
investments in
Biden
Israel.
administration, they should be happy because basically the Biden administration is selling Israel out left and right. I really feel like they support the terrorists more than...
Really?
Yeah, because...
Well, we just sent them $26 billion, which is...
Okay, but we also sent, I think, a lot of the terrorist people money too. Like I said, they actually okayed, I heard, I mean, I don't know if it's true, but heard, and other people have heard that we give the okay to Iran to launch 300 rockets into Israel. We kind of told them, look, within certain parameters. We shot them down, we helped Israel shoot them down, and we do support Israel. But I mean, how can you say we got your back and then call for the man to step down, their president? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So
yeah.
I'm really upset, but anyways, it was nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for stopping to talk.
While it's expected for governments, militaries, and political operatives to view the world in stark binaries like friend or foe, life or death, survival or annihilation, it's deeply troubling when ordinary citizens also adopt these divisive perspectives, assuming the absolute worst about one another, as this only serves to pave the way for leaders to exploit these rifts to advance their own agendas at the expense of humanity and societal harmony. That is it for me this week. Let me know what your thoughts are about the student protest. Do you agree, disagree, somewhere in the middle? Sound off in the comment section below. If you enjoy my work and you want to help me do more work like this, please take a second to like this video, share with as many people as possible, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to know when my next video drops. As always, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.